Okay, let us roll. Okay, so we counted it yesterday. We continue the chitas of today. We are holding, today is Tuesday, the third reading in the portion of Bamidbar. We're holding chapter 2, verse number 1. Yesterday we counted the Jewish nation, the chitas. We continue, Eidaba Hashem Moshe Valad and Lamer, and God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Yishal Digle the children of Israel shall camp, each man by his division, to the house, to his father's house. Yachnu b'nei Esau, they shall dwell. Mineged Saviv layamed, they're all in a distance to the tent of meeting. They shall encamp. So Rashi says, each division. What means the flagstaff? Each division shall have its own flagstaff, with a color flag hanging on it. The color of one being different than the color of others. The color of each one was like a hue that of its stone set on the choshen. On the choshen, there were 12 stones, and each one had a different color, and that was the color of the tribe, worn by the Kohen Gadol. In this way, everyone would recognize his division. It would be on a flag, and it would be on the choshen itself. Another explanation with the signs, the literary translation, but Osais of his father's house, according to the signs of his father. What does that mean? Jacob gave them when they carried him out of Egypt. When Jacob left Egypt, when they carried him, he was in a coffin, and they carried him from Egypt. He told the sons how they should carry him, who should be in front, who should be on the sides. He divided them according to his son. His son did it for him just as he commanded them, that Yehuda, Yisachar, and Zvulun would bear his body from the east, Reuven, Shimon, and Gad from the south, as it states in the Gemara in the Medrash Tanchuma. So the way they carried them, Ba'osais, and the signs that Yaakov Avinu already gave to them when he passed away, right before he passed away, he told them how to carry his coffin. So that's the way they camped in the desert. What means beneged? What's a distance? So now she says a distance of a mil. Stated in Yeshua, however, there shall be some distance between you and that is about 2,000 cubits, 2,000 amis. That's the same concept. The reason for this distance is with the distance permitted to travel on Shabbos. I walk on Shabbos out of your city. You're allowed to walk 2,000 amis. So it's close to 3,000 feet. So you'll be able to come to the Mishkan on Shabbos. So you made sure that was in the 2,000 amis, that every Jew was within the 2,000 amis, 3,000 feet, to be able to walk from his house out of his camp and walk to the Beis Hamikdash on Shabbos. And Aaron and the Levites lived around it. Okay, verse number 3. Achenim Kedma, the camp in front, which was to the east. So that was the front camp. You have to imagine the Mishkan in the middle, and then you have 4 camps. Camp to the front, there are 3 tribes, a camp to the right, 3 tribes, a camp to the left, 3 tribes, and a camp in the back, 3 tribes. Imagine that kind of a situation. So the one that was in front to the east was the Degel Machne Yehuda, was the tribe of Yehuda, the Tzavaisam, and to the legions. Menashe lived in Yehuda, and the head of the tribe of Yehuda was Nachshon ben Aminadab. Was Nachshon the son of Aminadab. Rashi says Canaan in front is called Kedem, which is the east side. The west is called the rear side of the world, west. And his legions had 74,600. And the ones who were with him, the 3 tribes, was Mati Yisachar, was the tribe of the tribe of Yisachar. Menashe ben Yisachar was the son of Metzur. Verse 6, was 54,000. Abba Meis. Mate Zvulun, and together with him was Mate Zvulun. Manasseh Livnei Zvulun, the head of the tribe of Zvulun was Eliyav ben Chelek. Utzva v'gduda shiva chamishim elef, and the number was 57,000 Abba Meis. Verse 9, Kapagud Lamach Yehuda. That means the entire group, the legions of Yehuda under his flag, was Maas Elef, was 100. Maas V'sheish Alaf Abba Meis was 186,400. Litzavaisim to their legions. L'shaina L'so, they were the first to travel. Yehuda, Yisachar, and Zvulun were the first to travel. What does that mean? Rashi says when the cloud was seen departing, the Gahanim would sound the trumpets, and the camp of Yehuda would set up first. They were ready to go. They had to take apart the tents. And when they traveled, they journeyed forward, taking the same position in which they camped. I don't know how they did this, but this was a major event. And the Levites in the wagons in the center, the division of Yehuda in the east, Reuven in the south, that of Ephraim in the west, and Dan in the north. And that's the way they traveled. Then you had the tribe of Reuven, which was in the south. Teimana, Litzavaisim, and Reuven, the head of the tribe of Reuven, Elitza ben Shteim. Verse 11, and his counting was 46,000, and 500. And together with Reuven was Shimon, Mate Shimon, Shimon, the tribe of Shimon, Shlomo ben Tzirishadai. Together the Shimon had 59,000, Shlomo 300. Mate Gad, and together with them was the tribe of Gad. God, the head of the tribe of Gad was Eliasaph ben Ruel. Together his number was 45,000. 650. Call up a good Lamachne Reuven. So that means all the tribe of Reuven and his group, three was Maas Elef, V'chamisha Melef, V'haboy Meis V'chamisha, was together 151,450. It's a Vaisam to their legions, and they set out second. And then the tent of meeting shall set up with the tribe of the Levi. The way they encamped, so did they travel. Each one to their degel. So Rashi said, after these two divisions, Kashayachnu King Yisrael, as explained, they journeyed as they camped, each division marching in a designated side. Hayada in his place, on his hand, on his place. The word yad denotes not departure from the usual meaning, the direction of his side. It's called al yadai, which is by his hand, closest to him, within reach of his hand. Verse 18. The legion of the division of Ephraim were to the west. Ephraim, and the head of the tribe of Ephraim was Elishama ben Amiyud. Verse 19. And his counting was Abayim Melech was 40,000, V'chamesh Beis 500. Well, Menashe together with him was Menashe. Menashe, the head of the tribe of Menashe. Gamliel ben Pedotzu, Gamliel, the son of Pedotzu. What means for Olav? Olav rendered those closest to him. So Menashe and Ephraim were two brothers. Utztah Pekudeyem, and his legions of Ephraim, Menashe, were Shnayim v'Shleishim Elef, was 32,000, Masayim and 200. Umata Binyamin, together with them was the son of Binyamin, Menashe le Binyamin, Avidam ben Daini, the tribe of Binyamin, the prince of Avidam ben Daini. Tzvav G'dayim, his counting was Chamisha v'Shleishim Elef, 35,000, and 400. Kol ha'pekud lemachne Ephraim. The sum of the legions of Ephraim was Me'as Elef U'Shmeinis Alafu Me'el Tzivesa, was 108,100 to their countings. U'Shlishim Yisrael, they were third to travel. Verse 25, Degel Machne Dan. And then came the Degel of the tribe of Dan. Tzafina, they were the north side. The Tzavaisim to the counting, Nasil the name Dan, the leader of the tribe of Dan was Achiezer ben Amishad. Tzva Pegudim Shnayim V'Shishim Elef, and his legion counted 62,000. Shvameh 700. Achayim Elef Mata Yasha, and together with him was the tribe of Asher. But Nasil ben Asher, and the prince of the tribe of Asher was Pagiel ben Achran. Utzva Pegudim, the legions numbered 40,000, Boyim Elef, Chamesh Meis 500. Together with him, 12 verse 29 was Mate Naphtali. But Nasil, the head of the Naphtali was Achriya ben Einon. Verse 30, 12 Shalosh Chamishim Elef. Together his legions had 53,000. Abameis and Folon. Call up and Kudin Lamachne Dan. All the sums of legions on the division of Dan was Mi'as Elef, V'Shiva, V'Chamishim Elef, V'Sheshmes. Was 157,600. Achreni Yisrael, they traveled the last. Verse 32. Eile Begudim B'nei Yisrael of Esav. These are the numbers according to their father's homes. Kol Begudam after Vesam. Again, the entire counting was Sheish Meis Elef, V'Shleish Alaf, V'Chamesh Meis V'Chamisha. The entire number was 603,550. Leviim lo yispaktu, and the Leviim were not counted with the regular B'Seif B'nei Yisrael, with the Jewish people. Kashativa Hashem es Moshe, as God commanded Moshe. Verse 34. Vayasu B'nei Yisrael, the Jewish people did Kachol Hashativa Hashem es Moshe, whatever God commanded Moshe. Kechanu l'digleim, that's the way they encamped to the divisions. The Cheinasu, to their divisions, or l'digleim, to their banners, the flags. The Cheinasu, and so they traveled. Ish l'meshpachtev, each one according to his family. Al Beis Aves, to the house of his father. And that completes the Chumash for today. We now go to the Tanya of the day. The Alter Rebbe ended off yesterday with saying that the Shechina itself, what Kabbalah calls the Shechina itself, cannot even come into the world. It's extremely, extremely high, it's extremely too powerful for the world if the Shechina would come into the world. That's why the sun, like the example of the sun, the Shechina is the sun. And that's why the sun has to come into a ray. And the sun itself cannot the sun would burn up the world. The same analogy, if the Shechina, the presence of God, would come into the world, it would disappear. So the Eibishter had to put it into a lavush, had to put it into control, put it for the world to be able to handle it. God had to make a garment, which is an interesting thing, because God made the garment. So why doesn't the garment? So the garment has the capability to hide the thing and to reveal the thing. That's a very interesting, powerful concept. What is this garment? What is the garment that God puts in this earth, so that the earth should be able to come into the world? So that's what the Alter Rebbe goes in. He gives this introduction. It says, "But what manner of garment can possibly conceal the Shechina, and yet itself not be affected by it, so that it too will not be nullified?" How do you have a garment? What kind of garment is there that can handle the Shechina and not be affected by the Shechina, and be able to actually reveal the Shechina? Because now the Shechina comes down into this garment, like the brain. What the brain is the garment for the energy of the soul, that now the soul comes into the brain, and the brain diffuses the soul in every part of the body. What is the entity? What is the brain above that the Shekhinah can come into in this garment, and not be the garment will not be nullified by the power of the energy of the Shekhinah, and at the same time we reveal the Shekhinah. And of course, the source is still garment too. In other words, if the Shekhinah is manifest in the garment, meaning if the garment envelops by its source, then it follows that will be nullified as existence. Thus, the sun ray ceases to exist within the body of the sun. If in effect this would make the garment cease serving as a garment to conceal the Shekhinah. So what is this garment? What is the garment that can handle the Shekhinah? Alter Rebbe anticipates this question by stating that the garments is God's will and wisdom, which are enclosed in the Torah and mitzvahs. That's the garment. The Eibishter made the garment. God made a garment for his Shekhinah, so that the presence of God would be able to rest in this garment. Since the garment belongs to the plane even higher than the source of the world's vitality known as the Shekhinah. So the garment can handle the Shekhinah because the garment is even higher than the Shekhinah. Right? Because we said, what is the garment? The garment is the Torah mitzvahs. Torah comes from Chachma, which is higher than Malchus, than the Shekhinah. So the Torah comes from a higher place than even the Shekhinah, than the Shekhinah, the Malchus. And that's why the Torah can become a garment for the Shekhinah and not be bottled to the Shekhinah. And it's not nullified by it. However, as to the Rebbe, according to this explanation, the question becomes even stronger. If creation cannot receive the light of the Shekhinah, then surely it cannot receive the light of the garment, which is even higher than the Shekhinah. So how does the world receive its light if it comes from a higher place than the Shekhinah itself? This the Rebbe answers. The Rebbe says is answered by the Alter Rebbe when he says only that which descends by the means of obscuring gradation. Concept of tzimtzum, aspect of Seder Shtalsis. This means to say, since God's will and wisdom, as found in the Torah and the mitzvahs, descend into the gradation of the world, being able to clothe themselves even in the material things, they therefore can serve as garments to conceal the light of the Shekhinah. So ultimately, the Eibishter is the only one who can say that I'm going to connect Gashmis and Ruchnis. Only God can say that a physical thing can become a mitzvah. That's the Ratzon and the will and the Chachma of the Eibishter. Only the Eibishter can create a physical thing to be connected to a spiritual thing. So since God said, my Ratzon, my will, and my wisdom come into Dafka, a physical thing. So that's why ultimately the physical, that goes back to the original concept, Chassidus, that ultimately the physical is the revelation of godliness. Not in the spiritual is the revelation of God, but actually in the physical is the revelation of godliness. Specifically in the physical. Because the Eibishter is the only one who can create a concept, can say that the physical, that seemingly has its own identity, can actually be where the ultimate spirituality is revealed. So that's why the physical that reveals godliness is not nullified into the spiritual. Because the Eibishter said and created, that was the kavanah. Did it b'tachtonim. The Eibishter wanted, God wanted, that not that he will only reveal himself in the spiritual. No, that's not a chachma. That's not a paradox for God's ray to reveal into the spiritual. And actually, God, what he reveals in the spiritual is only a order. It's only a ray. But over here, the Eibishter says, I'm going to create a physical world. That this physical world will be a yesh and will be able to handle the ultimate revelation of godliness. And that's the power of a mitzvah. The power of a mitzvah is the revelation of godliness in the physical world. And that's why Hamaisa Wa'ika, The most important thing in life is the action. All the spiritual philosophy and all the limit, all the learning is not the revelation in the physical. The only revelation in the physical is in the action. That's where we have Dira B'Tarteim. That's where we have the concept where God dwells in this world, in the physical. And the physical doesn't lose its identity at the same time. So that's where we explain that above time comes into time. That's the revelation of Matan Torah. That's the accomplishment of the giving of the Torah. That within time, we have a revelation of above time. That's the whole power of the Beis Hamikdash. And ultimately, the Alter Rebbe is going to say the accomplishment of mitzvahs in this world. We now understand why the garment itself is not nullified by the light of the Shekhinah as well, and how created beings can receive this garment within themselves, for it's none other than God's will and wisdom, which is enclosed in the Torah and mitzvahs, as we shall explain. So the Eibishter says, I come down to a Davar Gashmi. I accomplished that concept of coming down through your doing the mitzvah. I come down into this physical thing. This physical thing, this physical mitzvah has the capability to reveal God in this world. And not at the same moment be nullified. So let's learn it in the words of the Alter Rebbe. What is this garment which is able to conceal and clothe it? The Shekhinah. And not be completely nullified within the light. This is his blessed will, the will of God, and the wisdom, so forth. And so forth within the levels of Bina and Das and the part of intelligence above, as mentioned earlier, Chachma, Bina, and Das. Which is clothed in the Torah and its mitzvahs. Which is revealed to us, to our children. Why are God's will and wisdom and so forth able to act as a concealed garment for the light of the Shekhinah without themselves being nullified by it? Why? For the Torah issues from the wisdom, namely the Chachma, the supernal wisdom, which is the level of Chachma of the world of Atzilus. The Leila, which is immeasurable higher than the world of manifestation, which is the world of Malchus. Which level of Malchus is the Shekhinah. So it comes from a much higher level. The mitzvah and the Torah come from a much higher level than the revelation of God in the world. And since the mitzvah and the Torah come from a much higher level, therefore it's not batal. Therefore it's not nullified. As mentioned earlier, Shekhinah refers to an initial stage of revelation, in which reasons it's called the world of manifestation, Alma Disgalia. Since Chachma means the upper wisdom, is entirely beyond the pale of revelation. It is therefore immeasurably higher than the world of Malchus and Shekhinah. Because he is wise, the wisdom of Chachma, of the world of Atzilus, but not with noble wisdom and so forth. So it's not the Chachma of Olam Abriya. Because the Chachma of Olam Abriya, which is the wisdom of the angels and the wisdom of the soul, comes from the Shekhinah, from the world of Atzilus. But the Torah comes from the wisdom of the world of Atzilus. As I explained to you before, that the infinite light of God is connected to Chachma Atzilus. Chachma, the world of emanation, is one with God. And Hu v'Chachma Sayachad, the expression in the Zohar says, him and his wisdom is one. Who is Baruch v'Chachma Sayachad? Thus Chachma is wisdom, as well as the other divine levels of intellect, Chachma, Bina, Dat, are far superior to the level of light of the Shekhinah. They are therefore able to serve as a garment concealing the Shekhinah within without being nullified by its light. But how can divine intelligence, it's still a question, how can divine intelligence serve as a garment? How can created being accept this garment when in fact it's loftier than the Shekhinah itself? That's the Rebbe, we already asked this question. The Rebbe answered the question. Only because the supernal wisdom of the Torah went down from lower to lower. Right? It came the wisdom of Chachma, the world of Atzilus. The wisdom of God came into our pasuk. That's how far that a 5-year-old child can understand. A simple 5-year-old can understand. We just read the Torah 2 minutes ago. That's the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The way the tribes traveled, simple pasuk, self-understood. There's Kabbalistic teachings on this parsha. Why does the Torah have to tell us all this? Is great philosophical and godly interpretations. But the simple pasuk, you have to imagine the simple. That's when we learn Chumash, tell you to imagine how the tribes traveled. The Torah is telling you how exactly they traveled. He's not telling you any seemingly any kind of spiritual concept. He's telling you how the Jews traveled, basic traveling in the desert. So the Chachma of the Eibishter, the wisdom of God, comes down into the Torah, into our pasuk, that everybody can understand. And not only that, it comes into the Torah, but then it comes into factual mitzvahs. How 613 commandments. Shem Teyag Mitzvah. So the Eibishter, the Chachma, the Ratzon of the Eibishter, which Ratzon in the way higher than Chachma, the Chachma is the Torah, the Ratzon is the will of God, comes down ultimately into a simple mitzvah, into a simple pasuk. That's the way the Torah ultimately comes down. That's how the Torah is compared to water. Just like water comes from a very high place to a very low, but goes to the lowest denominator, so too the Torah comes to the extremely the wisdom of God. And God comes down ultimately. And only the Eibishter can do that. That's why it's called a Tzeinig Chachma. There's no concept of obscurity in Chachma. There's no concept of obscurity in the Ratzon. That's why expressed that Torah and mitzvahs are the Ratzon, are the will and the wisdom of God. Because there's no concept of being hidden from God's wisdom. That's why Yehuah Chachmasay Echad, him and his wisdom is one. And his wisdom is above our wisdom. Therefore, within his wisdom, there's everything. And there's no concept of physical and spiritual in his God's wisdom. The Eibishter Chachmasay Tzeinasay, his wisdom and his Ratzon, his will, comes down ultimately through the concept of the humility of God. That's the expression. Where do you find God's greatness? In his humility, where God comes down from level to level, and ultimately God comes down into Agdava Gashmi, comes down into a physical thing, mamash. Alter Rebbe is going to continue. We're still in the middle of this beautiful teaching of the Alter Rebbe, but this is where Tanya ends over here. The Chitas of the Tanya ends today. We shall continue this this teaching. Actually, we're going to finish the Tanya, the first part of Tanya before Shavuos. I think we will, but this is where we finish the Tanya today. Today is the first day of the month. Happy Rosh Chodesh Sivan. The Tillim today is from chapter 1 to chapter 9 in your Tillim. If you do chapter 1 to chapter 9, you would have done you would have done your chitas for today. I want to learn today in memory of the neshama of Barbara Bina Rachel Bas Nachum Kavaznik, who passed away, and his funeral is today. I want to learn in her memory of her neshama. She had a very special woman, and her neshama she loved learning, and her neshama she received, and she was very connected to Chabad, loved Chabad, and loved the Rebbe, and her neshama today she only have an aliyah through our learning and through our good deeds. and may her soul only find peace in heaven. I want to invite everybody in Mit Shem to tomorrow in Mit Shem as we continue the chitas of the day at 8 a.m. I wish you all a wonderful and beautiful Chodesh, a beautiful, beautiful day and a beautiful Mitzvah Yontiv as we prepare ourselves to Matan Torah Mit Shem coming up quickly.